There, I got it started. All right, it is 6:39 p.m. on February 27th. This is the County Offices and Public Safety Committee. Call this meeting to order. Roll call. I have Ben Heitzig, Brian Knelliken, myself, Mark Wagner, the chairman. I have Mike Weaver, the sheriff, Mike Ringhausen, and Rob Hedger from 911. Public comment? Okay. We are here to discuss the intergovernmental agreement between Jersey County and 911 ETSB board. We handed out the agreement. Did you get one? There's a few minor changes to the agreement. I reviewed this with the sheriff this afternoon because some of these changes involve him, and he was good with all of the changes that were in it. My only question to this whole agreement is on the very last page, Appendix A. The very first line.
Need one?
No. It says Jersey County Sheriff's Office and the ETSB in conjunction with the County Emergency Radio Network Committee shall be responsible for recommending upgrades to the Jersey County Emergencies Radio Network. My question is, if, number one, the committee has, I guess I have two questions. Number one, I think the county board would have to establish that committee. And number two, if we did establish a committee, it would be open to the Open Meetings Act. That's my two questions or concerns with this whole thing. Is number one, I think we have to create the committee. And then number two, it would be open to that.
Yeah.
The rest of the agreement is good. I have no issues with anything else.
I'll speak to that because I added the language, so I'll just kind of tell you where I was coming from. I recommended when we were in here talking about the field and issues about creating the committee, since you've got multiple parties at play here with the sheriff's office and us, that committee is kind of what would bring all of us together and get us on the same page, because there was just so much. We may fix something over here, but this person doesn't know what's done, or components may come up missing here, which is kind of what we experienced. So I thought the committee would be a good idea to bring all of us to the table. My initial thought was to keep it an open committee where we were taking minutes and having an agenda. I thought that allowed for an avenue for the fire protection districts and to come to that meeting, but it also made us maintain documentation. There's going to come a point in time when the sheriff is not here, I'm not here, Larry Mead is gone. These people have rotated off, and we're going to need to go back and find this documentation at some point, because if the question ever comes up, what happened to the amplifier down at this tower, we can go back and we have minutes. So that was kind of my thought on creating the committee and actually keeping minutes, so we knew what the left, the right hand knew what the left hand was doing, and we always had a historical reference to go back to. In reference to, so I didn't have any issues with keeping it open. Now, as far as creating the committee, I had mentioned it to Don. I think another way to do that is that a committee of the board would certainly have to be created and would be subject to the Open Meetings Act. We could have an executive committee created. If the sheriff wanted to create a committee out of his office, or if we wanted to create a committee out of our office, we could do that. Those executive committees, then that they're not board committees, are not subject to the Open Meetings Act, and that would be, but I'm not trying to circumvent anything. I just think that I only wanted it because I think that we need to make sure we maintain that documentation. I think that's what we've kind of run into here recently.
And I think that's to me, my opinion is, I think that's the purpose of this committee here, is the Public Safety Committee, is once we discuss an issue, then we bring it to this committee, then we talk about it, and it is part of the Open Meetings Act. Brian, I don't think it's any different than, you did a little bit of research about the shed, and then you brought it to the committee to talk about it.
Right.
You know, and that's kind of the way I look at, I talk to the sheriff, I talk to Rob, I talk to whoever needs to be talked to.
Right.
And then if there's an issue, or whatever issue needs to be resolved, then we bring it to this committee and get it resolved.
I looked at it as a subcommittee of this committee. I think when Don and I spoke, it's mentioned about putting you on it just as a subcommittee. So anything that we had talked about, we would talk about it, research it, come up with the pricing. And then once we were done and hit that point to where we needed to bring it here, then we would funnel it. We wouldn't have any authority to make any purchases, but I think it's just the investigating and the recommending. But again, if somebody's authorizing repair or something that doesn't necessarily have to come here, you know, it may be something that's within our budgets already to repair. I just want to make sure that we have that historical reference to go back to. That way we don't ever have to wonder what happened to microwaves or amplifiers, and just knowing what was done when. And it doesn't matter to me either way. That was just my thought on it, but it doesn't matter to me. I think what we've done already, Mark, when we sat down as a informal group, is fine also. I think that served its purpose.
What's your thoughts, Brian?
I don't know a whole lot about the radio anyway. As far as the technical part of it, what needs to happen, what kind of components need to happen. I know that all comes out in the ETSB meeting whenever, so I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of like you. If it can be brought here, that's fine. But if that committee is going to talk about some kind of technical issue or radios or what have you, I don't know.
Well, if they're talking about it and they're not spending the money, they're gonna come to us for the money. I mean, I think that would be all right, but if they're gonna start authorizing spending the money and stuff.
Well, no, it would have to come through this committee and funnel through, actually, the ETSB committee.
One or both. I mean, we're
Yeah.
not going to spend any, I think both entities between the sheriff's office and the ETSB budget a set amount of money for radio expenditures. Of course, what we're looking at, the most recent project is, improving the network, the sheriff's office radio frequency overall, which is going to be a significant expenditure. The thought would be to bring that committee together to coordinate with the different vendors, bringing them in, interviewing them, doing all the research on how that's going to work, getting the plan put together, the data, analog, digital, whatnot. We sit down and talk about it. Once we have those figures put together, then we funnel that up through this committee and then on to the county board.
Okay.
There's repairs, though. We know that repairs have taken place recently down at the field and tower. We get down there, we find out things are missing. Well, we don't know when all these changes were made, and there's no historical documents to go back to. It could have been expenses that were, changes that were authorized by the sheriff's office. It could be something that we do, and that's just it. We've always co-managed the system. We've always done that. Again, it was just that common place for all of us to come together and bring all the entities in, so you had all the talking heads at the table just trying to figure things out. Again, this isn't anything we're already doing it.
Like I said, I worry about conforming to the Open Meetings Act. I worry about, we haven't formed the committee. I think the board has to vote to form this committee, number one. Number two, if they do that, then we have to conform to the Open Meetings Act. And number three, on top of that, then is that person going to get paid for going to that meeting? And I don't want any more pay for what's, I don't want more money going out for another meeting. I want to save money, and like I said, I think we can do it without having another committee.
Yeah, that's fine. We're already doing it. I mean, we're already meeting. So I mean, informal. So I mean, I don't see any issues with what we're doing. I think as long as we keep the momentum of what we're doing and just make sure that we maintain the records and the documentation of what's taking place, I don't think you have to have a formal committee. Everything's going to funnel back up to this committee anyway.
I mean, I think everyone on the county board at one time, they're popping in an office and talking to somebody, without having a committee.
So why don't we change the language? Instead of putting a radio network committee in there, why don't we just put it in conjunction with the public safety committee? Because that's the committee that we would typically,
90% of the time, that's what we go
that's the
through.
committee that we would come back to anyway. So, I mean, we can just
I would be good with that.
I think we just simply change it,
Would that fix it for you guys? I think it'd fix it for me.
I mean, it just sounds better.
No,
It would explain it if somebody goes to read this and
We'll just put in
Well,
there the county's public safety committee or whatever the official title
County
is.
Services Offices and Public Safety Committee.
Yeah.
I know it's not comment time, but for what it's worth, all of these things that you guys discuss through electronic means or otherwise are all discoverable with a FOIA request anyway, okay? So whether or not you follow the Open Meetings Act isn't really a big deal necessarily. I mean, if you're gonna have a committee meeting, you need to, but all the documents that you guys retrieve and all of your emails, whether they be personal email addresses or whatever, can be FOIA'd.
I have that original. I'll put that new language in there tomorrow. I'll send it out to, I'll send you a copy if you want the copy with the change in there.
It'd be fine with me. Just send it to Kelly.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send it to her.
Send it to Kelly, and then Kelly will send it out to us.
Okay. Yep, that's easy.
Do you guys need more time to review anything else on this?
90% of it is,
Way over your head?
yeah. I just want it to be safe and I want to,
Well, I mean, this all stemmed from way back. I mean, we're talking 3 months ago, aren't we? I mean,
We took it up 3 months ago. I mean, the
Yeah.
agreement itself's 20 years old.
Right, right,
It's just
right.
standard-
I mean, I'm
Standard
just-
agreement that we,
Yeah.
We renew the agreement every 4 years.
I put 4 years in this
Yeah.
one to keep
Okay.
it consistent with the term of the sheriff. That way-
I mean, I'm new to this, but it looked like every 4 years,
Last
so.
one was 1 year. We did that, obviously, we knew that there was a change in, possible change with sheriffs coming up, so we knew that we might have to review it again. I kept it consistent with the term of the sheriff's scoring. And there's always a reopening when you don't depends on anything.
Make a motion
getting
to
that.
accept with that change.
I'll make a motion that we accept the intergovernmental agreement with the change of going with county services and county service offices and public safety instead of the county emergency radio network community.
Ben made a motion to make a change to this agreement. Do I hear a second?
I'll second the motion.
Ryan second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We don't have anything else on the agenda.
So next step would be to just present this to the board for approval.
Next step would be at the next county board meeting, present this to the board for their approval.
Once you get this, once he gets it amended and to Kelly, I mean,
I'll have it out there.
Yeah.
That won't take me 2 minutes to change it. Send it off to her tomorrow morning.
I think we already heard public comment. You got anything else, Mike? No, that's it? Okay.
That's the only, I don't think that everybody understands that whatever documents that you guys create with your own personal emails or otherwise, if somebody actually asks for those documents, at some point you have to produce them if it's county business, for example.
Yes.
And I mean, sometimes I think you guys would be better off having your own address on a county thing, and then that way you wouldn't be commingling. It'd be like an insurance agent commingling his money with insurance money or attorney money. If you've got your own email address, then there's no questions and it's easy.
May not be a bad idea for protection in the future.
I'd be good to keep track of one.
Oh, believe me, I know that too.
Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Ben
I'll
made
second.
a motion, Brian second. Meeting is adjourned at, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?